Look, let me ask you something. Have you ever actually tried to save money? Like, seriously commit to it? Not just thinking about it. Not just saying, I should probably save. I mean, really deciding, this month, I'm doing it right. You make a plan. You cut back a little. You feel motivated. And for a few days, maybe even a week, it feels like it's working. And then suddenly, something happens. An unexpected bill, a random expense, a small purchase that doesn't feel like a big deal. And before you even realize it, you're right back where you started, zero. And that's the frustrating part, because it doesn't feel like you're doing anything wrong. It just feels like no matter what you do, that first $1,000 refuses to happen. Meanwhile, you hear people casually talk about saving $10,000, $20,000 like it's normal, like it's easy. And you sit there thinking, how are they doing that when I can't even get to $1,000? Because here's the truth most people don't realize. Saving your first $1,000 isn't just difficult. It's the hardest financial milestone you will ever hit. And once you understand why, everything starts to make sense. My name is Peter, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, saving habits, and why building your first $1,000 feels so difficult. If you're someone who keeps trying to save but always ends up back at zero, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. The real reason it feels impossible, here's the thing. Saving your first $1,000 isn't hard because of math. It's hard because of friction, and most people completely underestimate how powerful that friction is. When you're starting from zero, every single dollar already has a job before it even hits your account. Your rent is waiting. Your bills are already lined up. Your groceries are non-negotiable. Your life is already funded. So when you try to save money, you're not just setting it aside, you're taking it away from something else. And that creates tension, real tension. It's like trying to remove a piece from a structure that's already barely holding itself together. That's why saving doesn't feel neutral. It feels uncomfortable. It feels like sacrifice. And here's what most people don't realize. That discomfort is exactly why they stop. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 40% of Americans would struggle to cover a $400 emergency, not $1,000, just $400. So when you're trying to build your first $1,000, you're not building from stability. You're building from instability. And that's why it feels so difficult. You have zero momentum. This is where it gets really interesting. Money is not just about numbers. It's about momentum. When you have zero, saving feels like pushing something uphill. Every dollar feels heavy. Every step forward feels slow. And the worst part, you don't see progress fast enough. So your brain starts telling you, this isn't working. This isn't worth it. But once you hit even a small milestone, something changes. Let's say you save $200, then $400, then $600. Now suddenly your brain starts thinking, wait, this is actually happening. And that shift is powerful because humans are wired to continue things that feel like they're working. Progress creates motivation. Momentum creates belief. And belief changes behavior. Saving your first $1,000 is hard because you haven't reached that tipping point yet. But once you do, everything starts to feel easier. Your brain is working against you. Look, here's what most people don't realize. Your brain is not built to help you save money. It's built to help you survive. And survival prioritizes the present, not the future. So when you get extra money, your brain doesn't say, let's invest this for long-term growth. It says, use it now. That's called present bias. You value immediate rewards more than future ones. And this shows up everywhere. Buying something today feels good instantly. Saving money feels like nothing. No reward, no excitement, just delay. So even though you logically understand that saving is important, emotionally, it doesn't feel urgent. And that's why people stay stuck in this cycle. Earn to spend, to reset to repeat until you understand that your brain is wired this way. The power of small wins. Now you might be thinking, okay, so how do I actually break through this? Here's the answer most people ignore is like, you don't aim for $1,000. You aim for the next small win. Because big goals are overwhelming. Small wins are manageable. Instead of thinking, I need $1,000 and think, I need $100. Then I need another $100. Yeah. Then another and another. Each step builds confidence. Each step proves something to your brain. I can do this. And this is where it gets really important. Confidence is not something you start with. It's something you build. Most people quit because they expect motivation to come first. But motivation comes after progress, not before. So instead of waiting to feel ready, start small and build your way up. Why the next $10,000 feels easier. Now here's the part that surprises people. Once you hit $1,000, the next $10,000 becomes easier. Not easy, but easier. And it's not about income. It's about behavior. By the time you reach $1,000, you've already solved the hardest problems. You've learned how to control spending. You've built saving habits. You've created structure. You've proven to yourself that you can do it. And that changes everything. Because once behavior is aligned, scaling becomes natural. At that point, saving money doesn't feel forced anymore. It becomes part of your routine, part of your identity. And that's when growth accelerates. Systems beat motivation. Look, if you rely on motivation to save money, you will fail. Not because you're weak, but because motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel focused, other days you don't. And that inconsistency destroys progress. What works instead is systems. Systems remove emotion. Systems remove decisions. For example, if every paycheck automatically moves $100 into savings, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to try. It just happens. And that's powerful because the less effort something requires, the more likely you are to stick with it. So instead of trying to be more disciplined, make the process easier. Identity is the real shift. Here's the part nobody talks about. Saving your first $1,000 isn't just about money, it's about identity. At the beginning, you might think, I'm bad with money. I always spend. I can't save. But once you start building, that story changes. You start thinking, I'm someone who saves. I'm someone who's in control. And that shift is everything because your identity drives your behavior. Once you see yourself differently, you act differently. And those actions compound. The math that proves it. Let's make this real. Say it takes you 6 months to save your first $1,000. That's about $166 per month. Now imagine you increase that to $300 per month. In 3 years, you've saved over $10,000. And if you invest that at around 10% annually, it keeps growing. This is where it gets really interesting. The hardest part wasn't the $10,000. It was the first $1,000 because once the system is built, growth becomes automatic. Most people never build wealth, not because they can't, but because they never break through the first barrier, that first $1,000. That's the wall. That's where most people stop. But if you can push through that, everything changes because from that point forward, you're no longer trying, you're building. If this video helped you see money differently, make sure to subscribe because most people stay stuck, not because they lack money, but because they lack the right habits. And before you go, comment below. How close are you to your first $1,000 right now?